Okay, good morning. For anyone that might be joining us at the moment, today, myself and Thomas Sellitto are going to be bashing a few friendly matches to just kick off the beginning of our new Melbourne Vintage Proxy League. We thought we'd just do a little friendly match to show off the kind of depth of vintage and just have a bit of fun while we do it. So we've each picked 3 decks for today. One fair deck, one unfair deck, and one wild card, so one mystery deck. And I'll run through mine in just a second, and then I'm going to hit the challenge button in just a few moments. Okay, so what I'm going to play today is a classic Oath deck. At the moment, there's another Oath deck kicking about, which appears to be morning, ye. There's another Oath deck kicking about, which is using Sun Titan and Underworld Breach. So you use Sun Titan to get Underworld Breach back, and then you do use that to do broken things. We're just opting for a classic one where we're using Grizzlebrand and Niv Mizzet to close the game out really quickly, and just trying to ignore as many graveyard interactions as possible, barring things like Gaia's Blessing to try and loop Time Walks. From there, I'm going to be playing either one of these two next. Oracle combo here is, it's a bug control deck with a Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation, Wincom. You have a bunch of tutors to grab your Demonic Consultation, and it looks like you're just kind of hoping to draw the Oracle naturally. I haven't played this before, so it could be that it's very clunky and I hate it, but it looked kind of interesting. I've been playing a lot with Legacy Bug Doomsday lately, so I thought this kind of looked like a nice little analog. And finally, there's a what's called a Xerox deck. So it's called a Xerox deck. I won't get too far into the history, but what kind of denotes a Xerox deck is just using a stack of little draw spells. So you can see the bug deck that we were looking at before kind of almost fits the bill. But this is a true Xerox deck. So we're playing, every draw spell we can cram in the deck, which means 4 Preordains, one of our restricted Ponders, one of our restricted Brainstorms, one of our restricted Probes, Ancestral, just basically everything we can cram in that'll draw us cards. I've been a little greedy on the mana base with this particular build. I feel like Tom's deck, probably his mystery one probably won't be shops. So I'm not bothering to play around Wasteland. That could fuck me a little later, but we'll find out. Instead, I'm playing a Mystic Sanctuary and an extra fetch to help better enable the Mystic Sanctuary. I kind of hate Mystic Sanctuary. I seem to have it in my opening hand a little bit too often, but it might be. We're gonna test it today and find out if it's worth the risk. So let's get kicked off. I will start the challenge, and I think I'm going to. Oh, how do I do this? I cannot remember for the life of me. Challenge player. I want vintage. And let's kick off with some Oath. So the reason I picked Oath as my kind of blue unfair deck is I kind of like how it's constructed. It lets you kind of leverage your ability to play a control match reasonably well. And just backs it up with, you know, like a fairly simple, straightforward straightforward plan of cheat your fatty into play and make sure that it's the kind of fatty that's going to win the turn. Okay, so we are playing against Delver. I think we're fine with the time walk here. He's burning a lot of resources at the moment, and what we're really kind of hoping to do is just basically we're going to try and back up our Oath of Druids with a Force of Will in 2 turns. We might not even need the Forbidden Orchard at this rate. And a Crater Maker is fine. Okay, second Force is actually perfect, because what we're going to do is in our next turn we're going to have okay, Pierce. So Force Pitch Oko, Force Pitch Ponder. Now the good news for me here is that I guess we want probably a tropical island. The good news for me at this point in time is that this is most likely to be the Wasteland deck. And we're playing against it fairly early. And I'm guessing Oath's going to resolve here. Yep, cool. So we can basically assume that he didn't have a Reb and that he didn't have a Mindbreak Trap. Okay, so we're going to go down to 6, but we are going to get to Time Walk. So for reference, Tom here is well known as a big fan of Grizzlebrand and plays it a lot. So he's now on the receiving end, and I imagine this is going to be a lot of fun for him. And this is going to probably spell the end of the game. We are going to get to flip our next fatty. I'm not sure if we even want to. I don't think we actually need to here, so we're going to start by removing the Delver. Now, this clock here is almost a bit of a worry, but I think we can easily survive 3 turns, and we'll just play a little bit conservatively. I don't think we really want either of these cards. A Braid's nice in that it's going to just... I guess it'll probably turn a 2-2 into a 1-1 really, but... Okay. So, realise he's losing the race just because we're not drawing. So we probably don't want to play Force of Negation here. We're trying to oath something out in our turn. We don't need Ancient Grudge. We probably need some of these. And maybe... Actually, no, we probably don't want an Abrade. So Delver kind of, in some ways, plays into our plan, in that it has to play creatures out more or less to win, which means we're less dependent on Forbidden Orchard. Now, I don't want to cut a Forbidden Orchard. Alright, we'll cut the Abrades. We don't really want to have to be running around abrading Delvers. We just want to be resolving Oath of Druids. Pyroblast can also deal with the Delver in a pinch. Oko can give us a backup plan. What's the last card we don't want? Maybe it's Dig Through Time. It might be a Dig Through Time. Dig might just be a bit tough to resolve. Or maybe we only need 3 Nature's Claims. Alright, let's try going to 3 Nature's Claims. We might end up wanting the last one, but we'll see how this feels first. So we're just trying to be a little bit lean here. We're just basically going down to a pretty solid like counterspell suite, just enough to kind of push through what we need. I think we're going to keep this, and we're probably going to fetch for an island fairly early. We will Veil. So we're going to try like Oko Veil, maybe? And see if Oko can take the game away for us. And I think we might Oko our Mox. It's possibly a bit slow, but I think he needs to... So I don't have a great deal of experience in the Vintage Delver matchup. He might actually need to slow down a touch in this matchup. Okay, maybe not. So we're going to play around the Wasteland here. We kind of can't really afford to be Wastelanded at the moment. He might choose to Daze here to try and get a tempo advantage. And I think we're actually completely okay with that. We probably should have played the Pearl out. Sorry, Graham, I wasn't looking at chat before. So the targets for Nature's Claim? Because if it's the targets for Nature's Claim, it's just going to be... Okay. We are happy to trade that. Like, we're just trying to be the sleekest. So post-board, the reason we're bringing in all the Nature's Claims is we're just trying to be the most efficient Oath deck we possibly can. Or do you mean the Abrades? Pithing Needle, sure, whatever. He'll probably name Delta. Okay. So I guess Oko's now our force pitch. And he's got a very stubborn Delver on the other side of the table. So I wouldn't mind drawing a Reb here, to be honest. A Reb would just buy us so much time. So maybe we do want... No, I don't really want the Abrades. I don't think I can fit them in. Alright, well this is nice. So I guess we need like... Yeah, we need double green, don't we? So we need a Trop. We can force pitch Oko. We'll cycle the Veil. This lets us pay for days and hold up Force of Will. Mindbreak Trap, Force, pitch Oko. We're in trouble if he's got a Reb. Although, yeah, okay, he could have a Reb. If he has a cage, we could also be in trouble. Oh, there's his Pyroblast. Wow. Savage. So, Graham, we don't pay for Pierce there, because if he's got a Daze as well, we can then no longer... Like, we're just trying to push everything through. So if we pay for the Pierce, we can't pay for the Daze. Whereas if we pay for Veil... He can then Daze, we can pay, and we still have Force backup. Wasteland's fine. Wasteland is not cage. Gush. Dig through time, gotcha. So from here, I guess he needs like Mox Cage. Alright, so I'm taking votes for what to play next. Do we want to play Xerox or Oracle next? Oracle combo. So Bug Oracle combo or 4-color Xerox? The fourth colour just being a very light white splash for Mentor. For what it's worth, the dig here probably has a reasonable chance of hitting what he needs, depending on how many Moxen he's on. If he's on 3, I think he should have a good chance. Okay, so we're going to start by firing off Hand of Mizzet here. And I don't think we can afford to Grizzlebrand. So Niv Mizzet can actually be a bit of a liability in situations like this. Where you kind of pushed into a position where we're being pushed into a position where if our opponent casts enough spells, if we Grizzlebrand and don't hit the Gaia's Blessing, what can happen is he can cast enough spells to deck us using our own Niv Mizzet, which is a little bit awkward. Now, fortunately, we're both on like heavy instant and sorcery decks, so what's going to happen is I'm probably going to draw a good chunk of the rest of my library if he casts spells. Okay, so he's trying to race me at the moment. And he might be able to do it with enough bolts. However, I think if he starts firing off spells, we might actually kill the Delver. Alright, so he's going to try and fight the Pierce on the stack. Maybe that was wrong. That was probably wrong. Yeah, I think I was meant to leave the spirit token in play. Alright, we're going to be a bit risky here. So he does have a lightning bolt. Can we cast the Grizzlebrand? Okay, well, this isn't much fun. Alright, so we're going to hold up Force for a second bolt. What's he got? He's got a Ruby. I forgot about this dude. What order? Okay. I can't remember what order I put my... cards in on the bottom. Is that a second bolt? Alright, GG. Alright. Yeah, so that was my kind of plan there, but we... Alright, so I think we're going to run this back. Okay, if they've got Needle, I think we want the extra Nature's Claim, which does mean we're pitching the Dig, and we're just going to try and be a little bit leaner here. So I think we punted that one away. We definitely should have played it a bit differently. Do we want Force of Negations? Maybe we do want Force of Negations. Alright, man. Have fun at, I assume, Highlander. What could we cut to squeeze in Force of Negations? Maybe it's Sylvan Library. Maybe this is the wrong matchup for that, but... I think I'm going to mulligan this. I don't think it actually does anything. This is considerably better, and I guess we're going to bottom the Gaia's Blessing. And I assume we're going to Brainstorm End Step and Force Hold Up Oath. Oh, sorry, Oath Hold Up Force. Or maybe I just sit on the Brainstorm. Yeah, I'd probably just sit on the Brainstorm. And that way, I'm much more likely to have it up. That way we can play around days and one other piece of interaction. So bottom Gaia's Blessing. do we just oath now? I guess we just oath now. So if this is a force of will, we're probably in good shape. It's a force of negation, he might have 2 up. I guess it has to be a force of will because he's lost a point of life there. And he might have a mind break trap as well, but we're not going to dodge. We're not going to play around that. So I guess I'd probably ideally like to hit, I think, a preordain here and preordain into something like probably Nature's Claim. So he pitched a Delver, didn't he? Yeah, so like maybe a Nature's Claim and then a... Sure, take the Trop. So I guess we don't want a Nature's Claim. Actually, no, preordain into Nature's Claim... And Forbidden Orchard would be nice. So the reason to try to stick the oath fairly early is it's going to... Pithing Needle... Sure. Take another Trop. We have one more Trop to go and our Forbidden Orchards. Look, Ancestral would be nice as well, but we need to get a creature on his board. He's probably going to name... Yeah, okay, cool. And we now get to hold up a Pyroblast. I think we'll probably Pyroblast anything that's not a Delver. Yeah, I think we can let a Preordain go. So it is going to let him filter a bit and maybe find a Wasteland to deal with the Volk, but I think at this point we're just going to start... Maybe we want the Pyroblast to defend ourselves. Like, he's very clearly holding one up, but it doesn't mean he has it. Or he's very, very clearly trying to indicate that he has it, but it doesn't mean it's definitely there. This game's shaping up to be a bit of a tough one. For having had Oath of Druids on the board fairly early. Come on, Forbidden Orchard. Gaia's Blessing. Alright, let's just cycle a Gaia's Blessing. So this isn't an amazing draw, but it will make our Nature's Claims better. Okay, that's annoying. We're probably going to get blown out by this. Alright, we don't really have anything we can do here. We've been kind of drawing pretty dead. So what do we need to draw here? A Narset, a Forbidden Orchard. Right, so it's been a Young Pyromancer, that seems fair. Not another Oko. So there's a question as to whether or not it becomes worth playing this out, so that if we can ever remove the needle. And unfortunately, Dak Faden's going to add too much velocity to his game. So this is probably over. But we're going to try playing it out regardless. So the problem from here is that if he starts finding bolts and wastelands, even if we draw a Forbidden Orchard, it might not be enough. But he doesn't actually have a clock yet. Alting Dak becomes a clock. So we'll probably scoop to a Dak ultimate, just because Reb's then... Okay, this looks like a treasure cruise. Alright, well I'm glad we played against the Wasteland deck. Okay, that's probably game over. Okay, this is going to buy us a lot of time. If it resolves. It's possible... We've got to try and figure out if he has any Force of Wills. Alright, one more turn. We just need something to kind of remove the DAC. So what happens with the DAC ultimate is every time he targets something, he gets to take control of it. So that means he can do something like Lightning Bolt a Grizzlebrand. And bolting the Grizzlebrand then basically just means, look, I might get to draw 7 cards, but then he'll have the Grizzlebrand, he'll get his own 7 cards. And he'll probably do it in my end step or somewhere in my turn, so he will get to attack and draw another 7, and that will just be it. I would laugh if he decided to hardcast his own Niv Mizzet here. And so what you're seeing from his side of the table is why I tend to prefer playing decks that play Dak Faden and Pyroblast. So most decks that I would register that aren't a... Alright. Let's see what we would have drawn. Oh, no, okay. So, I am going to quickly go... I'm going to... I'll challenge him again quickly, and then I'm quickly going to go to the bathroom. Challenge player. What do we feel like he's going to play next? I'm going to play Xerox now. No, format, vintage. So this is Grixis Thieves mashed together with Xerox. Where Grixis Thieves traditionally is like a mana drain, big mana Jace deck. Oh, okay. I will just be a moment. Yeah, so the Grixis Thieves Xerox mashup they're about to play. So Grixis Thieves is like a big mana, mana drain tinker deck. We'll usually play like Vault Key as a combo. So here's an example. These are mislabeled at the moment, so just ignore the deck names. But fundamentally, this is kind of what we were, what I'd expect to be playing if I'm going to play actual Thieves. So mana drain fuels like big mana turns, so you like mana drain on turn 2 into Jace turn 3, or if you can mana drain a delve spell, you can hard cast a blight steel. You're playing Academy and most of the artifact mana in the format. You're not playing mana vault, and that's about, and Mox Opal of course, but that's about it. And you're just trying to play as many of the really busted draw spells as you can, coupling it with Jace, Dak Faden, Yawgmoth's Will to rebuy everything, and a couple of tutors. And eventually you want to assemble, there's meant to be a time vault in here, so you assemble Vault Key. And that's just game over. What I've done instead is I've taken a Xerox shell. So I mentioned before, it's just a shell that lets you fill your deck with everything that lets you see as many cards as possible in a game. And I've taken out all the clunky parts, so that unfortunately means Vault Key. I've moved Tinker Blightsteel to the sideboard. Mana drains had to be cut completely. We instead want to be a bit more efficient with our mana. So ideally we want to be casting like a Preordain, holding up like a Pyroblast or a Spell Pierce or something like that. Take control in the first couple of turns of the game, dump a threat, and then go ham from there. We're fueling this with the Demonic Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, Monastery Mentor to win the game out quickly, Jace as a control win con, Young Pyromancer as an alternative threat, and then Snapcaster Mages just to keep us going. It might be possible that it's worth cutting one Snapcaster Mage. I better set my current deck as well, just give me a second. Hopefully Stream Deck had just updated. So yeah, cutting a Snapcaster Mage for something like a Force of Negation, just for one extra piece of interaction. I don't know if 3 Snapcaster Mages are a bit greedy, but I just really like being able to snap back like a Pyroblast or a Pierce or something like that fairly early on, which puts a body on the board. It can trade with something like a Lavinia, a Pyromancer, a Mentor at the appropriate time as well. Take out a Narset, whatever it is that you need to do, and just lets you be, it's not the most mana efficient play you can make, but it is one of the most card efficient plays you can make, and just gives you a good selection of what you want to do. You might even just want to at certain points like vamp for a vamp and then snap vamp, just to close out the game or something. So maybe you want to go like a Dak Faden first and then get a Notion Thief a little bit later. So it just opens up some options like that. We're still playing Yawgmoth's Will. Plays very nicely with Black Lotus and Mentor. Just lets you make a really big Mentor turn. If you draw basically DT plus either one of any one of these 3 cards, and you can set up something pretty disgusting. In terms of mana, we're playing considerably less fast mana than in the traditional Thieves deck. So you can see we're down to only 4 Moxen. There is no Soul Ring, which might seem a little bit weird. You might wonder why we're playing a Mana Crypt over a Soul Ring. We're playing Mana Crypt because it lets us turn 1 cantrip, turn 2 Notion Thief, or turn 1 cantrip, turn 2 Tinker, or turn 1 cantrip, turn 2 Jace, in a way that a Soul Ring doesn't. So we're pushing more, we're leaning more heavily on the Mana Crypt there. In terms of the rest of it, pretty straightforward. A couple of Planeswalkers, Dak to keep us in the game, Narset to punish our opponent and basically work as a dig through time, Jace as a control finisher, and then Notion Thief just because I really like playing with the card, and it really punishes like outcome decks. Our white splash is very light, it's very greedy. It is just the Tundra, the Mox, and the Mentor. So we have 2 white sources plus our Lotus, which technically gives us 3, or 3 ways of actually physically casting it. We have a bunch of blue fetches, so it's pretty easy to get the Tundra when we need it, but we're pretty light on actual mana sources. Okay, so Sellitto's ready. Let's bash. All right, we're on the draw. We are going to keep this hand. We have a misstep, a brainstorm. So we have a draw 3, a way to counter an early card, like an early one drop. And there are quite a few in the format that we do care about. We would like some more interaction. But I think we have enough that it's okay. Sure. All right, he's on oath. So our out to oath here is bolt, snap, bolt, or bolt, snap, bolt, a big mentor. Like a big mentor can actually demolish whatever he does. Oh, he might be playing outcome oath. This could be interesting. All right, let's brainstorm here and see what we can hit. We're happy to pitch the dig at this point. Like, it's going to be a little while before we get it off. No, okay. All right. That's a little bit frustrating, but let's do what we can. Okay, so we're still actually not in too much trouble just yet. So I guess we'll Pyroblast the first thing that we can, and we're going to try and get the dig through time off as early as possible. We're holding the C. We don't need to tip him off as to like what color combinations or anything that we might be on. What do we have? We have a Yawgmoth's Will on top. Which I don't think we're super excited about at the moment. Alright, so I guess if I bolt him this turn, in his next upkeep, I can do something like dig, hold up, Pyroblast. Which might be the right way forwards. So we are set up with a sideboard for this. We have Grafdigger's Cages and a Pyroblast, and I think they're kind of our main things we're going to be leaning on. We'll be cutting our Young Pyromancer, probably a Mana Crypt, and maybe an Island. I think we keep the rest of our deck intact. And we just play in a way so we never fight any time except for in the end step. Yeah, let's say no. And I think we might actually just go ahead and dig through time now. So I guess I kind of want like Lotus Dak Faden. And Jace the Mind Sculptor, Yawgmoth's Will is kind of a nice combination to have. How much mana do I... So this is all fine, because I think we're going to rebuy it all in a turn or two. So if I go something like Will... Okay, so I think I'm going to drop another DAC on the board next turn first. So we'll let him fight there to begin with. Exception, of course, being if he plays a Forbidden Orchard. Okay, so he's playing Sun Titan Oath. So what can he do? He can exile something like Dak, Reb, Veil? No, Dak. I guess you go like... Oh. So what's the win con? So I guess he can probably actually just mill me out from here, can't he? All right, we'll concede there. So this is fine. Alright, so as I mentioned before, we're going to cut the Pyromancer. We're going to cut Mana Crypt because we don't want to accelerate that out. We're not particularly interested in accelerating that out in our basic island. we're kind of actually happy to have pretty much everything else. Jace bounces their threats that they might otherwise be able to sit and play with. Bolts can keep tokens off the table. Vamp just helps you assemble whatever you need. We like the Rebs just because they let us fight over whatever we need to. It's possible as an argument for like an Abrade or something, but in general I'm not that enthusiastic on it. So for anybody wondering why I conceded there, it's because basically what he does next is he plays pedal, brain freezes again. Puts another, what is that? 1, 2, 3. So he hits like 6 Storm at that point, so it's another 18 cards. Does it again. He's now on 9 Storm. He's probably milled his entire library. And then he just does it to me and passes the turn. Okay, so it looks like they don't totally lean on Breach, and honestly, like, I don't think it's worth ley lines. Ley lines take a lot of space and don't necessarily contribute enough. Cage stops the fatty making it into play. Oh, no, we can do better. Alright, we'll bottom the strip mine and we will start on probably a preordain, I guess. Maybe we should have cut the strip mine. Oh, no, the strip mine's okay. I just only like it in a 7-card hand, I think. Alright, so we're not too stressed if we have to pitch away Jace with our Force of Will. Kind of wouldn't mind another land here at some point. I want to fire off my DT and probably just grab an Ancestral, to be honest. Okay, so if he has an Oath here, which it looks like he does, we will happily pitch away alright, land. Yeah, let's see if we can preordain into a land here. So Oath is probably the biggest problem for us at the moment. Okay, we wouldn't have minded the Spell Pierce a couple of turns ago. What's this, a Dak Faden or a Narset? Merchant Scroll, grab Ancestral, I guess? So the one issue that Xerox decks can sometimes have is they have to go shields down periodically, kind of like now. And that can be a significant issue. We really, really want that land, but it's taking a frustratingly long time. Alright, I'm guessing we should probably have to fire this off. Okay, and I think I want all of these cards. Maybe I should have taken the Mox into the cage. Actually, no, I guess we don't need to fight over the Oath. We fight over the cage now, I think. Okay. So we're just going to kill the Dak Faden next turn, so we're not really going to worry about this. This isn't actually doing a great deal. It just buys him a turn. So, alright, the way we do this is... What do we care about the most? So... How do we sequence this, do we reckon? So we're going to hold the misstep for the Veil. I guess Spell Pierce is the lowest value counter spell here. Alright, so we let him do that. We're going to hold the misstep. Maybe we should have... No, we probably should have misstepped there. Maybe we should have held the pier... No. Alright, so the misstep's going to hit a nature's claim, if needs be. We have a bolt. So we have lethal on board, if we can last another turn. So while he's thinking about this, I'm going to have a bit of a play with my chat box on my interface, because I can't figure out why it's broken and it's really bugging me. Okay, let's see what he's got to round this game out. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage on board, lightning bolt in hand, mental misstep for most things, and he needs to have removal for cage. NASA is okay. The other thing is, if we can rip a land or any other mana source, we have lightning bolt. DT lightning bolt available to us. So that's the reason to keep the bolts in this matchup, is you can get them relatively low at various points for a variety of reasons, and bolt can just tag them out of the game. Cool. All right. This is going to be a fairly grindy matchup in the end. So we're not actually going to change any of our sideboarding. I think our sideboarding is generally... I've played this matchup a bunch. I like being quite lean. You board in just enough to support your primary plan, with a little, just a smidgen of hate for the Oath. The Oaths, look, they're how they can close the game out, but it's kind of navigating to that endpoint that's the complicated part. And boarding in things like, your Abrades or Notion Thieves and things like that just hampers your ability to draw the cards that are appropriate for the situations. So things like your Dak Fadens, which actually find your ways out of the game, like your Mentors, like your Jaces. So your actual real bombs. Okay, this is awesome. We are keeping this 100%. I'd really love to draw a black source. However, we can get 2 draws off the Probe using the Snapcaster Mage, a draw off the Narset. Oh, fuck. Opponent is mulliganing low. Unfortunately, this might not be an amazing game. Not by any fault of his, but I just feel like tapping that low, he's going to want to have the absolute nuts. Let me have a think here. So how much mana do we have? We have 5 mana available to us. So if I was to DT... No, I think I DT next turn then. For probably Ancestral. And then I think we're going to be able to snap Ancestral at some point. He might be incentivized to force a Lotus, just because his hand is a bit anemic otherwise. Like, if I get ahead here, I think it's probably game over. Unfortunately, I'm very likely to get ahead. Just courtesy of Narset and DT. So this is like a vintage hand, right? This is like one of the most... it's not the most busted hand I've ever seen, but in terms of... in terms of how punishing this is for your opponent, it's going to probably get there in like at least 80 to 90% of games. It's not game over yet. But it's not looking good for opponent. Now, it's possible he'll draw like a Reb or something. What do I want? I probably want like a Pyroblast, I guess. So we got rid of Force Gush, didn't we? So Oath is like, it's a pretty fun deck, but it has some flaws. Yeah, we'll take Yawgmoth's Will. So if opponent taps any mana at any point, we're going to cast an Ancestral. If they don't, we're going to cast an Ancestral at some point anyway. The question is, do we Yawgmoth's Will now or next turn? And I feel like it might be next turn. So what we can do next turn is we can replay a land. So we're going to fetch end step. We're going to get to play another land. Play Lotus. And we can probably Jace as well. And I think once we kind of go through that, so Jace, Probe, we can leave the DT in the bin. Okay, and he kind of doesn't really have anything at all. I think we kind of want... Yeah, we want the Dak Faden. Alright, so we can pitch that, and I think we can pitch the Underground Sea. Yep, okay, cool. I guess our final match is coming up shortly. I will be playing Oracle, and it will be interesting because I've never had to play it again. So we'll see you for the last match shortly. I'll do a quick run through. So this is the Oracle combo deck I was talking about. So I don't know what Tom's going to be on now. So he's done his unfair deck and he's done his fair deck. We can see that kind of, it looks like the fair deck's beat up on Oath a little bit, which probably isn't terribly surprising. I've seen Oath in much better positions. I think it was briefly the best deck in the format when it was able to play 4 Narsets. But it's suffering a bit at the moment. Now, in terms of this deck here, we're just playing a fair bug shell, so bit of removal, bit of interaction, some draw spells, standard pieces of power that bug decks tend to play, which is they tend not to play quite as many pieces as certain other decks, just because they're hinging more on just outvaluing their opponent. It's got a bit of a Xerox plan and a bit of a decent Snapcaster plan, and then eventually, then it's going to grind them out with Oko, or eventually just use one of its 5 tutors. So Demonic Tutor, Mystical Tutor, Merchant Scroll, Vampiric Tutor. 4 tutors, and then 4 combo pieces. So you'll probably draw the oracles fairly easily and fairly naturally, and then you'll need a tutor for the demonic consultation, which is the missing half there. So I'm going to set this as our current deck. And use the toilet again, and I'll be back in a sec. So this is the deck I mentioned before that I'm a little bit concerned about because I just have no idea what I'm doing with it. It's going to be interesting for me. Trying to figure out how to assemble a combo. Hopefully I just get to knock down and grind out up until I want to win, which I think I can work out, but it's going to be a bit of a head fuck regardless. So I did contemplate playing Vintage Dredge for this challenge as well. I thought Vintage Dredge, I think it's pretty busted at the moment. I find it very hard to go less than 3-2 in a league, and I don't think I'm amazing with it. I definitely know there are much better players out there. The reason I think it's amazing at the moment is you just have so much interaction to beat up on the unfair decks, which have traditionally been the hardest decks for you to beat. So you get things like Force of Negations or Mindbreak Traps or whatever it is that you need. You get to play a really lean, no mana, pitch-only plan. And, of course, Hollow Ones and Unmasks just... You're playing so many pitch spells. So many just free to cast, just bits and pieces. That you end up just, like, even if they have Grave Hate, you can often just win in a couple of turns with a Hollow One and fighting over anything they use to, anything else they may use to just shut you down. So it winds up being pretty absurd. Like, every time Dredge keeps 7, you should probably be worried because I think they win a vast percentage of post-board games where they keep 7 and they're already winning game 1s fairly well. Outcome's still not easy, but you just have so much more game against it that if they stumble even for a second, you can just take the game back really quickly. So I guess the reason I didn't actually register it for today, which is what I was originally talking about, I just think it's probably... It's a very brute force deck, and it's probably not quite everybody's taste. So when I quite enjoy playing it. I always have enjoyed Dredge, but I do tend to think the decisions are a little bit different. Not everybody enjoys them so much, and you end up with just a very different match than you might otherwise. Alright, so Tom's done again, so let's bash our final round. Hey, cool, we got a die roll. Alright, so we will 100% take the play. So, this hand is looking pretty similar to our last one. In terms of the cards being played, you could mistake it for the same deck as we played last time. We're playing a lot of the same spells in terms of, like, for Preordain, so on and so forth. Unfortunately, we're not playing Pyroblasts. So I said a little earlier in the stream that Pyroblasts are just something that I will almost always register because I think by and large it's fundamentally incorrect not to. Oh shit, am I playing a Bayou in this deck? I should check that. It's fundamentally incorrect not to register Pyroblast a lot of the time. It's just such a powerful card in the format. But to be fair, there are some decks you gamble on being better against like 70 or 80% of the format at the cost of having dead cards main board against another percentage. Veil does very much the same thing and might trade a little bit more efficiently. Alright, I think I'm going to be... no, let's not get too greedy. We already saw him play one Wasteland deck, so let's get an island. And I like the Jet. And I think we might use that to get an Ancestral off. We're drawing a Snapcaster Mage next turn as well, so we can actually snap Ancestral. So we're not too reliant on our Snapcaster, on our Ancestral resolving. So opponent's thinking, or our stream is lagging, I can't tell, but I'm going to assume opponent is thinking. No, we do not want a welder. Null Rod is fine. Now we do need to grab something that's worth noting is, oh no, okay, we have a Jace Vryn's Prodigy. If we're in too much trouble. Now, we do have a Yawgmoth's Will, I think. I'm going to open my deck list up somewhere. Okay, so Yawgmoth's Will is not amazing without Black Lotus. And I don't think we have any way to remove so if there was a Blood Moon, our only win con would become Jace Vryn's Prodigy, because I don't think we can cast black spells. Okay, so we're not about to get Blood Mooned. Something else horrible might be about to happen, but it's not Blood Moon. Okay, so we've drawn our Oracle. We are going to cruise next turn, I think, especially if we don't hit a land. If we do hit a land, we're going to hope it's a fetch. Mystical Tutor for an instant or sorcery card. Okay, so we're most of the way there, but we do need to... Like, we're still missing a lot of pieces here. So Mystical Tutor can get the... So how much mana do we need? We need 3 mana to be able to Consultation. So we're going to have to hold the Mystical. Because that needs to be our way of assembling the combo. Okay, and that's nice because we now get to Grab an underground sea and treasure cruise, I think. So we're going to bottom, we're going to bin top, and I think we want to hold on to this, but maybe Yawgmoth's Will is not where we want to be. Alright, so let's cast a Time Walk. Now, I think this is going to get a little bit fun. Okay. So we're going to turn the Lodestone Golem into an elk. And I think next upkeep we are going to Mystical for Demonic Consultation. And we'll cast Demonic Consultation, Thassa's Oracle. Maybe we can take an extra turn. Maybe I actually should have made my Mox a 3/3. Instead of the Lodestone, because I think we can take a little bit more time here. I think I'm also kind of keen to find like a Force of Will or a Veil of Summer. So I think that's the first Oko I've got to resolve today, despite having what, like 4 in my first deck? Okay. Bash Oko. Tangle Wire is fine. Now, I should have floated mana, shouldn't I? Now, what are we going to do next? Now we will play a Mox. Make it a 3/3. Gataxian probe to see what's up. Okay, so he doesn't actually have anything, so we're actually going to mystical for demonic consultation in his end step. And do we have enough things to tap? So 1, 2. I guess I'll let him bash with lodestone, so we have another permanent that we can tap down. So let me take a look. So we need to tap down 3 things. Okay, cool. So I guess I kind of like Hydroblast, Nature's Claims, Hercule's Recalls, Fatal Push, Infernal Reckoning. Top is probably not amazing. Veil is mediocre. I haven't seen Wheel, so I think Narset sucks. I didn't actually see all that many red cards, did I? So maybe it is... Power. Alright, let's do Hercules. Nature's Claims. And is there anything else that we think, like, I can understand maybe cutting a Merchant Scroll for more interaction. But I don't think we need to, like... A Fatal Push might be okay. No, okay. We'll hit submit. So I don't entirely know what opponent's doing. It's clearly some kind of welder combo, which is going to be a bit of a head fuck, but look, it's possible ley lines are correct given welder, but I don't think so. Like, I guess he probably kind of... Yeah, okay, we'll keep this. Possibly plays a Null Rod. I don't think we care about Null Rod. To make the old joke, it does nothing. We can make lots of land drops. We get to ignore things like Thorn. And I think what we really want to do is try to find a point where we can untap and win. Either that or untap and put in with 1,000,000 artifacts in hand. And so if we can do that, we can force him to discard quite a lot. Maybe I should have played out a Delta in case he plays a... crap. What's the, like... It's a 2-mana Pithing Needle that lets him see my hand. I think I should have played around that by playing out a Delta. So we're still not scared of Blood Moon. I'm not going to force a Will of Welder. I can now force a Will with a Thassa's Oracle. We do have 2 more. And I might force a Tangle Wire if I need to. Although, do I bother? Probably not. Mystic Forge, yeah, no fucking way. Alright, what are we doing here? We are grabbing a basic island and we're going to force a Will, pitch Thassa's Oracle. We're going to hold the Hercules Recall as we might need to use more than one. Oh, fuck. Okay, so Mystic Forge, he can activate. Both targets are still legal. No, okay, let's let that go. Maybe we should have forced the Welder a little earlier. But that would leave us with nothing for the Mystic Forge. So this is just a bit of a tough spot. He's drawn kind of like one of his best possible lock pieces. So the top card from your library. Played a Wasteland, sure. So we're not excited about getting artifacts into his graveyard here, are we? So for anybody who's never come across this problem, if you've been running Modo for too long, it'll start to chug. I believe somebody mentioned it's got a memory leak. Fortunately, if you do ever need to do it, it gives you about 5 minutes to quit and restart. Oh, thanks, Yi. I just saw your lunch message then. All right, everybody, just bear with us. We're about to get a restart going. We're not 100% sure if it reconstructs non-league matches. I believe it does. But we're going to find out the hard way. While that's happening, I'm going to fiddle with my interface a touch more. Okay, hopefully it's in the middle of restarting at the moment. Oh, cool. All right, there's a Mox. I can see things now. So the Thorn and the Mystic Forge is not quite a complete non-bow, but it's not ideal. So we'll just play out the Mox so we just get a little bit more mana on board. It's a possibility we should have played that out earlier, but this left us Strip Mine proof. And if our opponent's playing Wasteland, he's definitely playing Strip Mine. So we've managed to line up our decks nicely, where the one deck we played that is soft to, like very soft to Wasteland, has we managed to pick a match where Wasteland basically isn't a card, so where Wasteland doesn't actually get played, so that's been nice. So hopefully our opponent's not having more moto issues. Okay, Mystic Forge. Exile the top card of his library. Oh, strip mine. Cool. Maybe he's looking for a null rod. No, I suppose he doesn't want a null rod with the forge in play. Mana Vault's fine. I'm not sure what we'd actually force at this point. Battlesphere? Okay. So I think we can play around the wasteland here. And we can do it by... Okay, do we care about the Battlesphere? I think we have a turn. Plus X plus O, so it's going to bash us for 8-12. Is that right? It's plus X plus O. Deals X damage to the player it's attacking. Alright, so I guess we're going to take 12 here. So this is... Can we actually soak this? So 8, we're going to go down to... So if we take 8... What are we on? 8, 9, 10, 11. So we go to 4. So we have 1 turn. Okay. We can soak this. We can fetch again next turn. But we're not looking amazing at this point, so we really do kind of need to string something together. And I don't know what it's going to be. So what are we going to have next turn? So I'm going to fetch Hercules. So just clearing the top of his library here. So I suppose he can weld away the Mana Vault to get 1 extra mana. Mana Crypt, fine. Soul Ring is fine. Alright, let's grab an island and cast a Hercules Recall. This should be reasonably backbreaking. Okay, so he's going to bounce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. So he's only going to discard 1. Well, Well, that's a bit sad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can have 5 cards in the graveyard after we fetch twice. He may or may not wasteland us. Is it worth letting him wasteland us? It might be, just to generate an extra... No, I suppose not, because it's the same amount of mana in the end, isn't it? Alright, so we're going to fire off Cruise. Okay, so he wants to do something weird with the Battle Ball next turn. Oh, he wants to be able to weld it back. Okay, that makes sense. I should have figured that one out. Alright, that Thoughtseize isn't doing a great deal for us. Alright, Demonic Consultation, come on. Or actually, Demonic Tutor would work just fine here as well. Is there anything in hand that we don't want him to have? It's probably the... maybe the Mystic Forge. Although, is it the Mystic? Okay, it's the Mystic Forge. Because I think that's the biggest problem for us. Alright, let's get this Time Walk going. I don't think we're super worried about the... Alright, if there's a Flusterstorm in here, that's a bit silly. And I guess we Time Walk now. Okay, and I think this does it. So if we go Black Lotus, Demonic Tutor, Demonic Consultation, name. Oh, and we have 2 Oracles we can cast as well. Abandon Hope. Okay, we're just going to be lazy. And okay, somehow we scraped that out. That was looking really rough for us. Anyway, so hopefully anybody who decides to tune into this or watch this at any point has a good watch. It's been fun. We might do it again, and I'll upload this to YouTube.